it's just a matter of time. Every woman gets there. Every woman breaks because she's intended to. You're not supposed to be doing this forever. You're supposed to finally get back to your truth. Everyone's bullshit detector is going off. Everyone is getting burned out. Everyone is over it, and it's for a reason.
Gosh, now I need to know, what's the reason? Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of the Unapologetically Yours podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Logan, and I'm so happy to have you here today. Unapologetically Yours is a podcast for the dreamers, the doers, the high performers, the women who are willing to examine what's working in their life and make the steps to get into alignment. And here we go deep on everything from spirituality to business, connection, relationships, and beyond. Because in a world when we've been taught to play by the rules, it's time to live unapologetically. Today, I have with you a guest who has become one of my favorite people, not just to follow on Instagram, but to interact with. We have a incredible alignment in terms of our cosmic makeup, which is amazing in terms of being fellow Sag sisters and many more placements that align. I would like to introduce you to Bijou Finney. She is a psychedelic coach and facilitator, and she specializes in visionary life designs for conscious entrepreneurs, couples, and women who are desiring to come alive. She is a badass, a free spirit, someone who has lived out loud and continues to shake things up, not just as someone who's working one-on-one with people, but also someone who's a teacher about the benefits of psilocybin and psychedelic work as it comes to healing and agency. Many of you listening might not be familiar with mushrooms and psilocybin and maybe even find it to be a little bit taboo. So I'm asking you, as you step into this episode, to come in with an open mind, because today we're going to go deep. We're going to answer all of your questions, and we're going to talk about the neuroscience behind psychedelics and more. Bijou, thank you so much for being here.
I'm so happy and get to talk to my fellow Sag sister about one of my favorite things. So I'm happy as a clam.
So tell us a little bit about your work getting into psychedelics.
Yeah, so I think I grew up with two parents that were pretty, I would say, like, rebellious or on their own timeline in a lot of ways, a little bit hippie, but also entrepreneurial. And I definitely have a big, like, rebellious aspect to myself. So I knew
I'm
from
nodding along because I'm like,
yeah. I mean, I have a Sagittarium, so I'm gonna be a rebel. I was super interested in entrepreneurship, and I always knew that I was gonna be an entrepreneur. In fact, after college, I just killed myself working my ass off for a company. I don't know, 70 to 90 hours, like an insane amount of time to a company, working my way up. And it was my only job that I ever had. And I had a fantastic boss. But I just knew after some time, I was like, I should be working this much for myself. It's not for everyone. Entrepreneurship isn't for everyone, but I knew that it was for me. And so I jumped, and I've been an entrepreneur ever since. And I've had multiple businesses, and eventually got to the point where I really wanted to support entrepreneurs because it's a very lonely and hard way of life. I'm just so interested in how things work that I started getting into what is the mindset of an entrepreneur? How does an entrepreneur do this? And how does the brain work? It was just, I was obsessed with that concept and devoted my life to biohacking and brain reprogramming and entrepreneurship, but very much more in like the capitalistic, patriarchal, like masculine way of doing things, because that is the template, right? So I was interviewing men, and I was like reading books written by men, and I was just doing all of these things that were very forceful. Like I was forcing my brain, forcing my body, forcing my will, and not getting into like the flow with the universe. Once I started doing entrepreneurial coaching, and I had something similar to you, like a branding studio, content creation studio, video production company for a long time. With the clients that were open to it, I was incorporating microdosing, and it was just wow, what it was doing for me, what it was doing for them. And then I just became like maybe the biggest fan that ever existed. And I just saw what it did across the board for so many people. So when 2020 came around, I was glad to kind of close my video production company after 8 years because that was enough for me. And I went all in into a facilitatorship training and then kind of just, I mean, that's what I've been doing ever since. And just seeing the magic of the universe and the soul and the medicine and what it can do when they all get on the same page and they all get into an alignment is just incredible.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, I love how many synergies that we have when it comes to being entrepreneurs and creative entrepreneurs. And one thing that I love about you so much, I don't know where this comes from in your chart, is how deep you go into the research. And when a topic lights you up, you fucking dive in. And I love that about you. And I've learned so much from you. So let's take this back to basics. What is microdosing?
Well, to answer your question, it's my Chiron Gemini, so it's my core wound. I never think I know enough. So it has definitely made me read every book and take every training program, but also like live a lot myself throughout this whole process. Microdosing is a really beautiful way to dip your toe in and really work on grounding and healing the nervous system, but also reprogramming the mind, especially high functioning women. Not everybody necessarily needs psychedelics, but if you have a very strong mind, you probably need psychedelics. You probably need something a little stronger than you. You probably need some support. You probably need a catalyst, right? And so for me, I tried everything. I tried every healing modality you could ever imagine, every supplement, every wearable tech, and they were all helpful, but I needed something else that was much more ancient and intelligent to support me to shifting, right? And so microdosing was a beautiful way for me, but also for others to dip their toe, to build a relationship with themselves and the medicine, and to really work on getting to a more authentic place. Because to me, your true authentic self is a regulated nervous system. Your true authentic self is your brain with the correct narratives. And everything else is damage, it's distortion, it's trauma, it's a program that's not yours. And so this, little bit by little bit, auto corrects you back to more of you. And then from there, you can really like make more shifts to be further in alignment. And then it just builds on itself. So some people need just microdosing. Some people need microdosing plus some processing doses. Some people need a light tea experience. Some people need a heroic dose on top of all of that. So, what I love about this is that with a lot of other plant medicines, there are a lot of contraindications. There's a lot of things that aren't safe for everyone to try because they might be on a certain pharmaceutical or they might have a certain health condition. Whereas mushrooms are incredibly gentle and you can truly build from like a very low dose all the way to high, depending on what your strategy is, what you need to do. So, like, as someone who has tried a lot of different psychedelics, mushrooms have my heart for a reason because, especially with women, we want a slow opening. We want trust being built. We want work that is embodied over time versus like just a big 2x4 smacking you over the head right out of the gate.
It's so interesting to me too, because as you were even sharing your story in the entrepreneur space and how, as an entrepreneur, the template for life was the template for doing based on a masculine template. And so much of our existence as women is built on a template that doesn't acknowledge the feminine. And when thinking about psychedelics and that rewiring, because the trauma, because the systems cut so deep, it really requires an element of deep surrender, deep trust, and alignment, as you said, from the universe, from the medicine, and from your own soul to start to uncover what's true for you and what you've been taught. So let's talk a little bit about how psychedelics can help to rewrite the narrative for particularly women who've been handed a template for life that actually over time we might realize doesn't align.
I think everyone realizes it. It's called middle age. You get to the place where Yeah. Where you're like, I followed all of the rules. I was the good girl. I overperformed. I am everything to everyone. I am the center of the universe. I get shit done. I am outperforming everyone around me. I am really doing it all. And what do I get in return? How do I feel? Do I feel fulfilled? Do I feel cared for? Do I feel loved? Do I feel supported? No, right? And so it's just a matter of time. Every woman gets there. Every woman breaks because she's intended to. You're not supposed to be doing this forever. You're supposed to finally get back to your truth. You're supposed to ask the questions that get you to your soul's path, to where you actually get to experience love and pleasure and joy and bliss. And you are actually supported back and mirrored back who you are. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a journey. It's the heroine's journey. It is doing and being and forcing and not having the medicine support you. And I mean medicine as the medical Western medical world. I'm talking about not having politics be there to support you. I'm talking not having community, not having relationships. Women are just so not supported that it made these true, I mean, amazing warrior queens. And then what we need to do is drop the scaffolding, use all of that muscle that we just created, and change this world for the better. Everyone's bullshit detector is going off. Everyone is getting burned out. Everyone is over it. And it's for a reason.
Gosh, now I need to know what's the reason.
Because it's not natural. Because it's like, if you look back into Earth's world, this is always so hard because people have demonized the word patriarchy and matriarchy, but it's like when children and women were centered, when elders and children were centered, and when we cared about our future, when we cared about the earth, when we were trying to work and live in collaboration, everything was better. And now the patriarchal system is very extracting focused. It's very profit focused. It's very momentum and a pace that is not natural focused. And so whether it's within your body or within your community or within the ecosphere, is like, it is not natural and it cannot sustain. It is literally unsustainable in our planet and in our bodies and in our minds. So eventually all of our resources get extracted out and we are literally left so depleted that we're like, enough is enough.
Sitting with that, like, I think so much about my own experience. You and I have had this conversation before where I feel like I look at what was happening in myself was so under-resourced. Everything was extraction. Everything was what someone could take from me. Running a business, paycheck, time, like all of those things. And then motherhood. Motherhood as a woman in this society with this structure, still expecting to perform, not expecting to have the time and space to nurture. Everything being about a baby registry instead of about the deep connection. And waking up and realizing like this ain't it, but then simultaneously seeing how much this was a layer that was not just, it was in society as well, and then how we view the planet and how we're extracting all the earth resources and how we're not prioritizing the fact that we need to be in a 360-degree relationship of regeneration, a cycle of giving and taking and nurture, and something that awakening for me changed everything in my life, and alchemizing it was really challenging. And that's where the medicine work came in for me, to be able to say and process and see more clearly these systems are broken. This is where I have agency to change it. And most importantly, I think, was a remembrance in my cells about the way things used to be and what we are missing, which provided hope for the fact that this could change, that we do have the ability to change once women remember their power, remember who they are, and start to ask for that support, to start saying things like, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to perpetuate the system that wants me dead, that wants the earth dead.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like we are the microcosm of the macrocosm, and it is this understanding. I see it. I love that you're bringing up all the facets of life because it actually impacts them all. I see it across the board where if men only knew, if they could be super supportive of us during our cycles, they would have a completely different woman loving them. If kids only knew, if we taught them that mommy needs her alone time and you will get a better mom because of that. So many kids don't know how to deal with life because their moms have done too much. Men don't know how to do anything because the women have done too much, right? It is across the world, and it's depleting the woman. She can't be juicy. She can't be creative. She can't be vivacious, which if she was, everyone would benefit, right? And everyone else can't form the abilities to do anything when we are overdoing for everyone out of love. Everything is out of love, but love needs to be reimagined as well. And it starts with loving yourself. It starts with self-sovereignty because what we're experiencing on the outside is going on the inside. So this shadow that we're seeing, this lack of sovereignty that we're seeing, this war that we're seeing, it's all going on internally as well. And so reclaiming, remembering within affects without as well, right? It affects the world outside of ourselves. And so it is a complete paradigm shift evolution going on naturally, whether we like it or not, because it can't go any further.
We cannot keep living this way.
No, and that's the thing is like when people first start working with mushrooms, they start to feel, "Oh my God, I feel so much peace. I feel so much yumminess." And then sometimes they're like, "It made me really aggravated. It made me really annoyed." And I'm like, "It's softening the shell that you have built to be able to do too much. It is reclaiming these energetic boundaries that people around you might not like because they have benefited from you not having them, right? So it's a mixed bag of how the mushrooms get you back to yourself, and it's a process, and it is a remembering of I am worthy of love and care for myself. I am needing to have a full cup before I try to pour. I need rest and restoration, and I need boundaries for that. Like it is completely unlearning and relearning, but from an infinite intelligence, from your soul, from the cosmos, from the medicine. It is like the teachers we never had, which I know sounds super woo woo, but I mean, you've experienced it. I've experienced it. And we were very masculine, very patriarchal, very good girl, follow the rules. We were it all. And then now we're this.
Feels a lot better being
Yeah,
this.
so much
But
better.
oh my God. But yeah, it takes so I think about the woman who is in that high performing position at work, maybe has kids at home, and everything is about a hustle. Everything is about a clock. Be in at this time, be on time for this, check in for this meeting, do this, produce, 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 come home, parent, and do this, prepare this, then all of these expectations of perfection around this, all of these expectations around performance. And every woman I know who is in the workforce is far exceeding expectations. So women are carrying the workforce and capitalism on their backs, and it's the same system that oppresses us. And then once you stop and realize, like, what is this all for? I don't feel joy. I haven't connected with my girlfriends. I'm rushing through sex if I'm even having sex at all with my partner. And all of those things where all of a sudden you look around and it's like, hey, is this it? Is this what it's all about? And it's not. It's not it. I'm here to say it is not it. And you're here to say it is not fucking it.
No, and that's the problem is that our society is so deeply unhappy and deeply stressed and lacking art and joy because there's no art and joy and sex coming out of a completely bone dry cup. There is nothing coming through. And we are starving. We are starving ourselves. We are starving the world of our joy, of the fact that we are channels of love, and we are just becoming very burned out, resentful shells of ourselves. And it's so obvious to everyone. It's so obvious to ourselves. And I know it feels hopeless and I know it feels like it can't be undone, but it can because we are literally born in human bodies, first of all, but feminine bodies, second of all, to this thing. Like you are meant to be art. You are meant to be poetry. You are meant to be joy, bliss, love, sensuality. That is your natural DNA. And so it's just remembering. That's why when people work with mushrooms, the same things are always said. I got out of my head and into my body. I stopped paying attention to time as a construct for a second. I, for a minute, remembered. How many women have you heard in mushroom ceremony go, oh, I've been here before. Oh, I remember this. Oh, I know you. Oh, we've done this before. It is a remembrance on a cellular level, and that's why I see a resurgence. I mean, when I started this medicine work, I thought it was going to be a long time before anyone would get on board. And I was betting 5 years from that point, and instead it was 1. It was 1 year, and it's just growing and growing and growing. I think they said like 100 million people are estimated to have been working with it last year with a plethora of different psychedelics. But yeah, it's the psychedelic like renaissance for a reason.
So many things that I want to tap in on and come back to. And when thinking about the woman who is on the edge of her seat, who's listening to this with so much resonance, being like, yeah, I'm fucking burned out. Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to fuck my husband. I don't want to do any of these things. And more than that, I'm short with my kids. I'm lacking joy. Women who used to play the piano and now don't. Women who used to paint and now don't. Women who used to sit and write poetry and read and dance and all of those things. And now they don't because time has robbed them. This structure has robbed them. And they're feeling this resonance. Why might psychedelics be an appropriate next step, specifically with psilocybin?
Because we have very fixed mindsets. So whenever we get into very strict routines, like I have this amount of time, this is how I get the kids here, this is what people expect of me, this is how the world works. We have a very, very structured mindset that when I tell people you need to change that, they go, yeah, right. Like there's no way, right? And so psychedelics are the number one way to open up new neural pathways, to see new ways of being, to understand how important it is. Because we've forgotten what good peace feels like. And so when we finally get a taste of it again, we start protecting it. We start understanding why it's so valuable. And we really start to pull our energy back and our sovereignty back to go, does my kid need to do 5 activities to make me a good parent? Do I have to do all of this for my partner because it's expected as a woman? Do I have to do this, this, and this for a company that doesn't care about me? So much of what women are doing right now are out of sheer obligation. It's like they have a standard for how they want to do things, which is beautiful, but it's not even like some of them are the rules, which need to be rewritten, but others are just like women wanting to do their best. And it's like, it's really beautiful, but that can only happen in an environment where you are getting that best reciprocated back to you. And if you're not, you have to learn how to ask for it. And if it's not given to you, you have to learn how to walk away. I mean, these are not easy things that I'm asking people to do. And so completely recalibrating the nervous system, completely rewiring the mind has to happen in order for us to do major shifts within the framework of our lives.
Love how you brought up things like what are yes, some of are the rules and that's going to be hard to break. Certain things like getting your kids to school on time and things like that. And eventually maybe those systems will shift when enough women come online. But the other part of it, there's such a big part is collective consciousness. So it's like, okay, these 3 kids signed up for this sports team and now you feel like your kid needs to do it too, so they're not left out. And next thing you know, you're making 25 different trips in a week to get your multiple kids to different places. And that's actually a choice. Like you're choosing into that. And also feeling like you have to be the only person to do it, not leading into a carpool. If that is the best thing for your kid. But this collective consciousness, even around things like travel sports, where you have some bro who wants to make a bunch of money off of little kids, deciding that practice for 8-year-olds is going to take place 3 times a week at 6 p.m., which eliminates any downtime for the mom, eliminates family dinners and time for connection, and is just a moneymaker and not really about kids expanding, kids recharging, kids being themselves, kids being in art. And so I give that example as one tangible thing, one choice that we can make around agency, where we have the ability to choose what actually works best for you. And knowing that as women, we don't have to leave it all on the line. You get to be factored into the equation. How will this impact my relationship with my spouse if I'm in the car this many times? How will it impact my relationship with my girlfriends? How will it impact the things that light me up? And factoring yourself into the equation when we are used to bleeding ourselves absolutely dry. And I love what you said about the reciprocity. It's one thing to do it and then have your cup filled again. But this extraction, the constant pulling from the woman, it impacts every aspect of one's life,
Mhm.
every aspect.
Yeah. It's too individualistic, like you're saying. Like, we don't ask for help, or we assume that it's not going to be there. So we won't set up carpool, or we won't get a group of kids together to do music lessons together. It's all these individualistic things. And when I really start chipping away with some of my questions, a lot of kids don't want to do this. Like, they either are forced to, or they're like, sure, I'm bored anyways, or they could care less, right? And it's this like expectation, keeping up with the Joneses, making sure you're a good parent, making sure that they're having these life experiences, where some of the trauma that I'm supporting people through actually come from specific coaches or specific groups of kids that were super bullying, or experiences that they didn't want to do because they wanted to be an artist, but instead their parent forced them into football because it's Texas and you got to do it, because then you got to get into football in college, and then you got to, and it's just like, it's so extracting. It's so not authentic, and it really, really, really wears people out. We don't ask enough questions. We just do. We don't take a big step back and go, really, how do I weave my life together? How do I really spend my time? How do I set myself up for success? And of course, we wouldn't ask those questions. The world around us loves when we don't ask those questions, when we just do, go, 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 perform, 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 produce, produce, produce.
Until you reach a moment where you're at the breaking point.
Well, yeah. Why does so many women have autoimmune? Because we don't listen to our bodies. We don't advocate for our bodies until our bodies go, I told you, I gave you so many symptoms, and now I'm out. And then the women stop? No. They keep forcing, they keep taking supplements, they keep trying all these other things to get around the message that their body is trying to tell them. Instead of making real changes in their life, they're like sold a quick fix that doesn't exist. And so, yeah, you could take some microdoses and you could have a more regulated nervous system, and you might be able to have a little bit more peace and joy. But most women need to do a pretty substantial amount of work to reprogram themselves and to really take a big step back from their lives and go, if my number one job is my life and my experience on this planet, and if I do care for myself and love myself and fill my cup, and everyone benefits so deeply from it, what does that mean for me?
Sitting with that one. Yeah, it's big work is scary. I shared in a recent episode that like I feel a little self-conscious sometimes around working as a coach, as someone who's divorced or hosting retreats and things that like their husbands are going to think that are you going to come back divorced too, because that's what happened in my life. And I think that it's scary sometimes to look under the hood and to not know what the outcomes are, to look under the hood and know and address like no, this job doesn't work for me. I know it. I'm scared to go out there. I'm scared to take the leap into entrepreneurship. I'm scared to do the thing that lights me up because of fear of not being able to ultimately pay to live, because that's what we have to do. Like we have to pay to live this life, which is brutal in itself. But thinking about the fear that can come up with looking under the hood and what that can mean for your life. And yeah, it's fucking scary sometimes. It's scary to tell the truth to yourself. But what's on the other side of that is alignment and impact and power and a whole new generation of people who can do the same thing because they have a roadmap. And we never had that roadmap. We never had that roadmap.
Mhm. Yeah, and I'm gonna say something to me, this sounds like good. To other people, this might sound scary, but the universe is coming for you. Whether you turn around into the storm now and you choose, and that's part of sovereignty, if you choose to jump from a job you're not meant to, if you choose to do the work within your relationship, if you choose to care for your body now versus it coming for you sometime, right? Like either the universe is going to make you lose your job or it's going to force work within your relationship, or it's going to slow you down with an ailment. It's coming for you. That's not a scary thing. Those are catalysts for growth because your soul is here to do that work. So you can try to run from it as long as you want, but it's coming for you. And I'm telling you, if you face it and you do it, it actually feels a lot better. You actually think much higher of yourself. You get over victim mentality. You get through it faster. You actually feel like you're somewhat more in control over it. It is what we're seeing right now in the world. When people refuse to do the shadow work, when people refuse to stop leaning so heavily on convenience, when people stop giving away their agency for like so long, this is where we are right now. It is happening on a global level, it is happening on a political level, and it is happening within our homes. We can't run from it anymore.
I'm so glad that you said that. I'm so glad. I knew for years that it was time for me to exit Yakety Yak. And I knew that if I didn't leave, the universe was going to burn it down and force me to. And it got close. It got close to it because I couldn't sustain it. It wasn't my path any longer. And I needed to shift. I needed to move into this work and this space and storytelling. And there was nothing that was going to stop it from coming. And same goes with my marriage. The voice was going to get louder and louder and louder until something drastic happened. I think what the universe first speaks with a feather, then with a brick.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
true.
It's so true, and the universe also rewards boldness. When you jump, when you take a step without knowing where you're going, like that is faith, that is flow, that is surrender, and that's why I love mushrooms because for me, a girl that forced everything and swam upstream so hard and I was tenacious, but I was using my gifts against myself in so many ways because I was unaware and it wore me out. It was exhausting and the universe is basically just watching me swim upstream and go, "Okay, when you're ready to listen to me, I'm here, but you just keep swimming all you want." And then finally because of the mushrooms taught me surrender. They taught me flow. They taught me peace, right? So it's like a within your body experience. I can't tell someone, surrender. I'm telling you right now, surrender. And then you just sitting there, oh, okay. No, it's got to be an embodied, chosen experience. And little bit by little bit, we build that muscle. The sovereignty muscle has atrophied. The flow muscle has atrophied. Like we don't know how to do it. And so to me, it doesn't always have to be mushrooms. To me, it had to be mushrooms. And for a lot of people, it had to be mushrooms. And ever since it started teaching me that, it's a thing that I do. I jump when the universe says jump. I let go when the universe says let go. And every single time I have built so much more proof that the universe has my back and that I'm going to be okay next time I do it. But the first few times you do it are probably the most scary, right? It's like jumping out of an airplane. The first few times you do it makes you want to throw up. But after a while, you're like, if you do like this kind of thing, it's like, this is the best thing ever. I'm not scared at all, right? And so it's like a lived experience that needs to happen with time.
It's so interesting to me because I think everything that you say is absolutely spot on. The universe has your back. It is conspiring in your favor. When you surrender, doors open. When you release control and the need to keep grinding, things show up. When you need the money for something, ask for it. It shows up. And it's wild the way that it happens in such a finite way. So, bringing back to anyone who is afraid to look under the hood, but you've got that feeling, that knowing, now is the time to start doing that deep work. Now is the time to start looking at your nervous system and to connecting back with your soul and what it's trying to tell you, because this is a pivotal time for women to be alive. We will be the driving force to, one, have to remember the way it's supposed to be, and then teach our mothers and our daughters, our fathers and our sons, and our partners how we need to be viewed and how feedback works, how reciprocity works, so that we can get back in right relationship with ourselves, with society, with the planet. And it starts with listening.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it feels overwhelming, like, there's no way that we could possibly change as a society at this point, but we're taking too much information in and looking at too big of a picture. If we're able to decenter patriarchy within ourselves and with our partners, that's if everyone was doing that, that's global change, right? And so it is this idea that I think I don't know who planted it there, but it tells us that hurts too much. Don't have that conversation. There's no way that they're going to change. Just deal with it or whatever it is, right? But honestly, on the other side of that hard conversation, on the other side of crying really hard, doesn't it always feel better? Like when we either do the work to deepen into partnership with our partner, we actually get a better relationship. Or if they won't do the work with us, at least we know, and then they leave space for someone who will. I only see a benefit at this point. I don't see any negative, and I see so much negative for not doing the work. So I don't know why we're so afraid of it. Is it maybe we've never seen it done before, or we don't know what it really feels like? I'm telling you, with my own personal life, working with so many women and men at this point, so worth it. And nothing that you could do and spend your time on will give you this high of a return.
You have done a lot of work with couples. And it's funny because every retreat that I've had, someone has come back, their partner has literally thanked me because they're having better, more sex, because the woman feels seen, she feels regulated. Another woman didn't get pregnant on the trip, came back, got pregnant, and unexpectedly. And I think that we've missed the mark like so much right now. And I know that I'm going to open a can of worms here. We hear this like submissive red pill culture, submit to your husbands, blah, 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 and like all of this stuff that I vehemently disagree with. And the flip side of that is when a woman's cup is full, she becomes the deepest well of love and pleasure. And knowing that and tending to that and remembering that tending to the woman feeds back to yourself, feeds back to your children in so many ways. And so I'm curious about your work with couples and how encouraging men to really see their partner and women to really see their partner can shift everything.
It was hard for me at first. I was like, in doing all of this work, it was hard to not be really mad at the masculine. It's hard to not be mad at the masculine in our lived experience, whether we've been sexually harassed or sexually tormented or hurt or not seen or not given love.
I
It is
could have I made
really
a list recently, by the way, of like the ways that I was wounded by the masculine, and am I willing
every
to carry it? And it's all of
every
us.
single woman. And so how beautiful is that though? Like how beautiful is that we still have the desire to support the masculine in coming back. And I think it's because on a level we know it's something that I believe I can get myself to a level of safety and a level of pleasure by doing my own internal masculine and feminine work where my masculine holds my feminine, and when there's a correct vessel, she just comes alive, right? I come alive within myself. But I also want to experience that outside of myself. And that means that we need to rewire men in understanding. I think somewhere along the line most of these men are just like beautiful little boys on the inside that don't know any better. And there was a few rotten apples with an exceptional amount of ego that tried to create this narrative that men must be in power.
Constantine, thanks very much.
Yeah, and it's when men think of relinquishing power, it scares the crap out of them, right? We don't actually want to be in control. We don't actually want to exert power the way that men have. We want to live in peace. We want to be held and cared for, and we can manage a lot. And if everyone's playing their role right, there is no one on top exerting power down. It is we all do our part. And what men don't understand is they think power means what we have seen. So they don't want to release that because then they're going to be oppressed in the same way. It's like the way that they treat immigrants, the way that they treat women, especially white men who have really, they think, benefited from so much, when in fact, it has made them very lonely and very inadequate. And so, if they just learned to actually be the masculine container that they are meant to be, because that's what I mean by their true template, their authentic template, they would have so much more love. They would have so much more joy and bliss. They would have so much more art around them. If they worked on the feminine within them, they would be so much more creative. They would have better sex. Like, men do not realize what they are leaving on the table by not supporting a woman the way that they need to. And it's a very simple thing. When I tell men, support your woman, they're like, I have no idea what that looks like. Very simple. Be there with her throughout her cycle. When she's on her period, love her and leave her alone. When she's ovulating, be there for her, flirt with her, like bring in that playful energy, match her, meet her, support her. Start there and then start providing this place of safety and peace. What can I do for you? The idea that you're just supposed to provide and then do nothing else for the home or the children or the wife, and yet we should do anything else for you when all you're doing is maybe, in a lot of cases, not bringing home the bacon. It's just like whoever gave you the playbook, it's completely outdated and mistaken. And if you listened to the way nature does it, if you actually worked in a sense of a team with your partner, you would be the happiest man in the world. I see it. I see the transformation within couples, and all the men that get to that point are like, oh my God, no one told me this. I wish I had done this work so much sooner. And or they start screaming from the rooftops, and there's just not enough of them yet, but we're getting there, right? There's going to be a tipping point eventually.
So hopeful. And I think you're so right. It's the provide has been attached to capitalism, but what men can provide is safety, is
Emotional
touch.
intelligence,
Hmm.
meditation.
Hmm.
And we don't teach them that. So, I mean,
Well,
it's real.
because a lot of the mother, like if I think about the attribution of this and how the cycle has been perpetuated and why we need to not look to the next generation, why we must stop, reach back to our mothers, reach down to our children, is because they were taught by their mothers who were also not supported by the masculine to then look to their sons to support them. And so it's women were very much complacent in perpetuating this because so much of the feminine was cut off. And so we didn't have that mirror. We didn't have those systems to lean into. And so as this is why it's so important for women to remember now and teach broadly. And so us middle-aged women right now, women of a certain age, have a big responsibility to take the vastness of what we were accomplishing in the world and apply that to saving the world, changing the world, starting with ourselves, starting with our children, starting with our partners, starting with the workplace place, and how we're making a living, how we consume, and saying, no, this stops with us because all of these systems have led to me feeling deeply unhappy, disconnected from my pleasure, disconnected from my joy, disconnected from my art. And the human experience is about bliss.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we have to take accountability. We are complacent in all of this, and obviously varying degrees generationally. But most of the men that I'm doing work with, they have an epic mother wound. Yes, they have a father wound in the sense that maybe their father wasn't there, didn't show them a very emotional template. But it's either that the woman showed the man that she was like very weak and let the father do whatever he wanted, or was really pissed off about it and exerted force downward to her male son to make up for how the force was exerted on her, right? And so the mother wound in men is, in my experience, one of two things. And they both play an active role in men not knowing how to treat women and not knowing how to treat themselves. And it's a very complicated, hard conversation to have. But it's incredibly important to rewire that, and we all do all of this out of love, which is why it's so hard to have these conversations, but I can see it so clearly now. I have, like, a couple of questions I can ask either men or women to have a full understanding of the program that was downloaded into them and what needs to be rewired.
I think that there is so much reason to be hopeful. And I also know this, that women will be the ones to lead. They'll be the ones who start the work first and then bring their partners in. They will be the ones who are willing to change or say, no, not this way, and then start to recalibrate the system around it. And it might be messy in the meantime. But what will happen is a return to an equilibrium that allows both the masculine and the feminine to rise in ways that we haven't seen for many generations.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I used to make me mad where I was like, "Why does it have to be the women? We already do so much now. We have to do the work on top of it. We have to do the healing work." And it's like one of my good friend Kirsten said it beautifully is like, who has access to the most love, right? Who needs to facilitate the most power within? And yeah, we have to come into our own power. There are so many times I wish my partner had given me a sense of power and safety, but then would it have been mine or would it have been him facilitating that for me, making me very dependent on him, right? So I went first for myself. I did, no matter who was going to be around me, I tried to heal myself and empower myself. And then I do not tolerate anything else after that, which then calls the men up. It forces them on some level to do the work because we are no longer complacent in what's going on anymore.
It's interesting to me when thinking about the vast well of love and forgiveness that a woman has. I believe that
She is love.
she is love. And there has been a doubt cast upon the masculine about the vastness of that love and the capacity to forgive and the capacity to just, the woman needs to just be seen and the love can come back and the reciprocity that comes from speaking truth and setting those boundaries, what we will tolerate, what we will not. And I love hearing you mirror this back and reflect it and thinking about how much agency every woman listening has in her own life to say, no, not this way. And it doesn't have to start with burning down the house, but it can start with something simple like, I am not going to miss my daily walk because that's important to me. And that's how I refill my cup. And I am not going to sign up for this extra sports thing because that is going to take away from my ability to recharge with the people who I love, however the fuck I want to do that. I am not going to go on this trip at this time because it doesn't feel good in my nervous system and starting to take those baby steps. I have a question for you. So for anyone listening who's like feeling like, okay, fine, gloves off. This is a sign. I was meant to hear this at this moment. What are the steps that you recommend for a woman to reconnect back with herself and how would you tie that back into microdosing as a tool?
Yeah, I mean, you might be hearing this and I know it's going to hit you one of two ways. You're either going to fully reject it because you're not quite ready to hear it and that's okay, or you hear it and you go that's absolute truth because it is. It is. We have to stop like manufacturing a different reality. It is the truth. And that's it might make you want to throw up. It might make you feel sick, and it's okay. I'm here with you. We're holding your hand as you listen to this. It's exactly what you're saying, Ashley, which is what does self-love mean to me? How can I give myself love in this moment? Because I have to be honest with myself, my cup is really empty. And if I'm going to make change in the world, if I'm going to do anything for my children, if I'm going to be able to keep my relationship alive, if I'm going to be able to leave my relationship, it doesn't matter what needs to happen on your soul awakening journey. You are not fit to get on that path if you do not have a full cup. Start there. And it could just be I microdose 2 to 3 times a week, and I have non-negotiables. I have a meditation. I have a bubble bath. I have an art and craft hour. It's really trying to understand little bit by little bit what boundaries do I have to hold, and how can I show myself some love, and can I do that for a little bit? And where am I leaking energy? Where maybe you're way new to this and you haven't even started on your healing journey. Or maybe you've been on your healing journey like I had been for like 10 years, and that was fun. It was like, I could just stay here forever. I know how to do this. I'm a shadow swimmer. Eventually, you need to get out of the healing world too and really take action. So, like, everyone is at a different place on the journey, but it's all about that next big step. This new year is calling for a big step in a different direction. It's coming for you whether you like it or not. I know because most people are on some level attuning to the cosmic energy. And the last year was very much shedding, letting go, shadow work, things falling away. But this fire horse year it's either going to sweep you up, as they say, or you're going to harness that fire. And I would say, what does that question mean to you? What can you do to protect yourself, insulate yourself, love yourself to the best of your ability over this next year?
That is such sound advice. It starts with baby steps. It starts with an Epsom salt bath. That's that simple. I remember when I was in the face of all of these truths and my tapestry had been woven to look one way and I needed to unwind it. And it didn't start with me grabbing a torch. It started with pulling at the threads gently, slowly, one by one, an Epsom salt bath, journaling, a walk with friends, gradually refilling my cup until I had the strength to stand on my 2 feet to fully assess what the next move was. And oftentimes that just meant waiting. And then the path opened up and tuning in. What was a yes for me? What was true for me? And being radically authentic and radically honest with myself. And that can be true for every woman, every person tuning in. What's true for you? What are you accepting? What are you tolerating that isn't aligned?
And that's what I mean by what the mushrooms did for me is that I became a shell of myself that could survive in a world that is not meant for us, right? And so more and more it brought me back to myself, and I started having like I could actually look up and see the synchronicities, see the redirections, see the signs, hear the inner knowingnesses, actually have desires come up, actually have questions come up. Before, when you're just bulldozing your way through life, checking boxes on your to do list, you're not actually seeing how much the universe is conspiring for you. And so sometimes it really is just slowing down and taking note.
And microdose psilocybin, when used responsibly with intention, can help you to see a little bit more clearly, can help to quiet the noise in your brain, to discern between ego and soul, to unpack what's true for you versus what you've been told. And those systems cut so deeply that to have something that sits on the exact polar opposite of that, that's rooted in nature, that comes from the earth, that's designed for a higher state of consciousness as a mirror of oneness, leaning into psilocybin can make all of the difference. The reveal, the big reveal, the small reveal, whatever the reveal might be, so you can take a step forward down a path that's true for you. So, question for you. I love seeing how you show up online in your full vixen, in your full play, and with so much wisdom. I think looking at an example of the feminine and showing that the feminine has depth. Feminine comprises so many things. It's not a Madonna, it's not a whore. It is a full bodied person of so much soul and made up from stardust and living out loud. And you exemplify that in so much. And so, what are you doing? Look behind the curtain to live unapologetically, Bijou.
As you know, I get obsessed with things, right? So ever since I understood this concept of the spectrum, I can't unsee it. So to me, I make sure that I have full access and I can play on the full spectrum. So, like you were saying, I know how to be masculine. I did it for many, many years. How do I teach myself how to be feminine? I know how to be maiden and mother. How do I be wild woman and crone? I know how to work with these emotions. How do I open up these, right? The full spectrum living is the full rainbow of it all, right? And so most of the time we are stuck on certain ends of the spectrum. So for me, it's always like, what is the spectrum? How can I play on the full spectrum and have access to the full spectrum depending on what I want to do? And then how do I learn how to master the spectrum to stay in the middle as best I can? Right. And so that's what's on my mind all the time.
So, as you're speaking, I'm thinking about just like the range of emotions that are acceptable in our society. And it's a very, very, very small range of just being kind of fucking medium, beige. And when you can face the depth of your discomfort, it also unlocks the same level, a new level of joy and bliss. And so that range is so important to tend to. So I love that you're living out loud in that way and allowing yourself to experience the entire thing. There's so much beauty in that.
Yeah, I mean, I truly believe that I am here to give my soul the most human experience, and that means riding the spectrum. That means understanding the levels of pain and pleasure that I can tolerate and experience. And that also means making sure that I take that so seriously that I don't let anyone get in the way of that. I started noticing how much my like if someone was taking an SSRI or a birth control or whatever, all of those things can be very helpful, but they also very much kept me in this tolerable middle ground and tolerable for everyone else. Like my emotions, my output was not impacted by my human body and essence. And that to me was something that I really needed to reclaim. So, like, you don't get access to how fun and flirty and playful and spicy and yummy I am if you can't tolerate how fiery I can be sometimes too. And that's, I mean, obviously within reason, I don't want to just burn everybody, but I also see the benefit that the crone and the wild woman bring. And now I'm just like, I give myself permission. I'm still working on it. It's going to be a lifelong journey, but I take that job very seriously, way more than I take bringing in money, which I know it comes though. When you're full spectrum, when your soul is aligned, the money just shows up. And I wish people knew that too. But I take my job very seriously, and giving my soul, giving God the human experience on this planet means that I let myself go there. I let myself go into the depths of pain. I know that it means I can go to the equal level of pleasure. And I also let myself ride that entire emotional spectrum, sometimes just with myself, and sometimes I let people witness it because we're also here for that as well. And it's really, really fun.
I love following along. And speaking of, how can people find you, Bijou?
Well, until someone comes up with a better way of putting yourself online, hint, hint, if anyone wants to make that their mission. I'm on Instagram, even though sometimes it's hard to be. I do love putting information out there. I'm going to start putting more, but yeah, pretty active on Instagram. I have my website, and I love when people reach out with questions or just to connect because that's what we're supposed to be doing.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here today. My journey when it comes to working with plant medicine has brought me to women who are changing the world. women who see from a lens of soul, women who represent the earth, who represent the planet, and also are deeply inspiring. And you are one of them. I will make sure to share your contact information in the show notes so people can reach out to you and follow along on your amazing journey and tune into your podcast, Spill the Tea with B, which is just amazing and so freaking juicy.
Yeah.
Some of your latest episodes have me like, whoo! But that's what life is about. And they're truthful. And that's the thing is that we need to be in truth. We need to stop lying, especially in this day and age of AI, where we're going to have to start to question a lot more what's real and fake. And the answer to that is going to be our own inner knowing and tuning into our bodies because our bodies know. So thank you for being here today. For all of those of you listening in, if you liked what you heard today, please like, comment, share. It means the world to have your reviews. And until next time, I'm Ashley. This is Bijou, and we are unapologetically yours.